because how do we know what to truly believe when we can't believe our eyes anymore? We can't believe what we read. It's an interesting world to live in, but to have a real human connection, someone in front of you that you can actually speak to, it's a wonderful thing.
Welcome to Get Curious. I'm your host, JLPalmer. Join me as I explore my curiosity about how to stop wasting money online, build trust, what works when the boots are muddy, and what he would do if he were to start today. Today our guest is Wes Towers. He runs Uplift 360, a digital agency for builders and trades, helping construction companies grow online. Thanks for joining me. It's great to meet you.
Fantastic to be here, JL. It's a different time zone, obviously. It's super early in the morning and your afternoon. So thanks for connecting today.
Oh, wonderful. What time is it for you?
5 a.m. So I'm
Oh,
an early starter. So I love it. And I do a lot of podcasting. So getting up early for those I always enjoy.
oh my gosh. I get up early too, but let me tell you, it's a few hours before I let anybody into my day after.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I've definitely got the coffee fueling me, that's for sure.
Oh, well, thank you so much for being here. And thank you for getting up early for all these wonderful podcasts. You have a podcast of your own as well as guesting.
That's right. Yeah, I only launched it this year, so still reasonably new, but going well. Had some fantastic guests. It's a wonderful thing, isn't it, to host guests? You get to ask whatever questions you like and learn things, and everyone brings something that you learn from. So it's been wonderful.
And I don't know yet whether I like guesting or hosting better, but I do know that when I host, I definitely focus on more of a conversation. And I've been on some episodes, I don't know if you've experienced this also, where it feels like they're just firing questions at you and there's no real engagement.
Yeah, every host has their different style, that's for sure. Some really want you to prepare a lot of info beforehand, and others are happy to have a conversation. I think the conversational ones always work out better. I think people enjoy them. It tends to get into deeper information in a way.
Well, I prefer genuine connection over,
Yeah,
just something that gets produced. And I hope that's something you enjoy as well.
absolutely. I think that's what we're all hungering for, really. We're living in this day and age of AI, digitalization. I mean, I'm a website designer. I'm in the digital world, really. But I just love the human connection and relationships and speaking to real people. We see so many videos of fake people these days, and it's kind of exciting to see, celebrities that are long past, and we know it's not authentically a video of them. It's kind of fun, but it's also terrifying as well because how do we know what to truly believe when we can't believe our eyes anymore? We can't believe what we read. It's a interesting world to live in, but to have a real human connection, someone in front of you that you can actually speak to, it's a wonderful thing.
With AI, I'm keeping my eyes wide open and getting information and paying attention to what's going on out there. How about you?
Mm. Yeah, it's been really polarizing in a whole lot of ways. There's certainly massive advantages for what we've applied to the business. But the curious thing, I think, is the way in which it's enabled more time for myself so the team can take care of a lot of the day-to-day tasks, and I can spend more time talking to people and engaging with them, clients and so on, and potential clients, and meeting and getting to networking events and so on, and other events, and just relating to people. And that's what I truly enjoy about business. The relationships you build with other business people and other people in different career paths. You just get to meet so many people, which is wonderful.
I've listened to some of the podcasts that you've created and some that you've been on as well. And
Mm,
I wanted to ask you, because you have niched down with regards to your services to the
yeah.
the contractor world, and is that really where you find your tribe is?
Yeah, it's a curious thing because and a lot of people assume because we're a digital agency and we serve trades and construction, industrial brands, those sorts of companies, and they're, on the tools, pragmatic, and so on. But a lot of people assume that I have some sort of trade or, contracted background in that way. I'm useless at anything like that. I can hardly pick up a hammer, I don't know what end of the screwdriver to hold. So, um, for whatever reason, probably a number of reasons that I can only assume, I just relate really well to those kind of founder-led businesses. They're really practical, pragmatic, hands-on, down-to-earth people. And I am too. It's just that we do different things. I build websites, they build whatever they build. They build homes, or they provide building materials, or they, electrician or a plumber, and I relate to them as well because they're often founder-led businesses, and I had to learn so much the hard way starting out in business. I had a skill set. I took that to market. I believed I had good level of skill, but I didn't know how to do business. I didn't know how to do client meetings. I didn't know how to do proposals and bookkeeping and everything else that comes along, legal things and insurances and all of the stuff you've got to do, the taxation. And it was a massive learning curve, and I struggled through it in the early days. But I can see that in startup business, in new businesses starting out in the construction world as well. They start with a skill set, and potentially they don't know marketing very well because, I mean, how would they? It's not part of their what they do. So they come to me, and I can see an aspect of myself in them. It's just that we bring different skill sets and have different gaps, and that's what I can help them solve. That some of those marketing issues that they don't naturally work in.
Yeah, they're definitely a group of individuals that spend a lot more time in the field with their hands actually doing things.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, not that we're not doing things behind a computer
Mm.
on the regular, but I find their office is primarily their truck or,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah,
you know, some little bunkhouse on site versus, an
yeah,
office setting.
yeah. That's right. Yeah, I have most client-facing meetings these days are over Zoom. That everyone's sort of come to be comfortable with that after COVID times. Uh, but it's nice to sometimes get out there in the field and see people face to face. And you're right, it might be on site, might be in a, leaning on the back of their truck and discussing their website or so on. And it's good fun to get out there. It's easier from a business perspective just to do it on Zoom, and you're not wasting the time traveling around. But it's kind of fun to get out there too and see what they're up to.
Well, and sometimes they don't have time to get in front of a computer to do the Zoom.
Yeah,
The best place is where they're at.
yeah, 100%.
Yeah, you would focus on that too when you're helping them position their website and everything that they're doing online because they really need to be where their customers are at.
Yeah, you get a greater level of understanding of what they actually do and the value they bring, and even the nuanced values that sometimes is hard to pick up on. And it's really important to understand someone's personal values and convictions as a founder of a business, because those personal values and convictions will reflect in the business values and the brand and how you want to go to market. And you really need to communicate those things as points of distinction and what makes you unique in this world, because there's just so much generic information out there. I think we're all overwhelmed by the amount of marketing materials we come across. And obviously, as I said before, we don't necessarily trust what we read or see because we know it might be AI generated. So there's just this sense of generic, overwhelming, bland information that's kind of all the same. So if you've got something unique, a point of view that's unique, something that you can share that makes you stand out, it's wonderful. And sometimes those things might, they'll certainly attract the right people, but they may repel the wrong people too, and that's perfectly fine. Nobody's a good fit for everybody, and just some people won't resonate with who you are or what you do and why you do it. And that's perfectly fine. They sort of self-assess before they even make contact.
I think that we can all relate to that when, for example, we've ended up with a client where we just didn't have the synergy and we just really thought, well, what are we doing here? You know,
Yeah, I think that's really a key thing with business to have an intuitive understanding of that emotional intelligence that you can only pick up, by observing and just trusting your instincts. I think business people, they're usually somewhat of a creative person. They're obviously entrepreneurial, and you need a level of instinct and to back your judgment, and you grow in maturity and understanding as well. And sometimes you don't precisely know what makes you feel a little bit uncomfortable with potentially working with a customer. But what I've found is whenever um, that uncomfortable feeling comes, and I've just ignored it. I've put that uncomfortable aspect aside. Something has been revealed eventually that, yeah, it's not going to be a great client. So, you know, I think those human aspects are really going to be important as we get further and further entrenched in technology and AI and the synthetic artificial it's artificial intelligence. So it's kind of like artificial food. I think it's like we know artificial food isn't as healthy for us, but it's got this appealing aspect to it. It entices us because it's tasty and it's convenient and it's cheap and easy, but it's not nutritious, and there's no value to our bodies. It might fill our tummies, and that might be a level of satisfaction, but it's not really the authentic substance. So I think that's what artificial intelligence is giving us right now. It's kind of like fast food, and whilst you can use it you can have it at times, and that's probably fine. You've got to make sure you keep the nutrient aspects of your life in check, so you're getting what you need um, as a real person, not an AI bot.
it definitely puts the onus back on us. And if we're
Yeah.
neglectful, we will unfortunately feel the pain of that.
Mm. Yeah, I think you're right. It's interesting times, and I do wonder how we evolve, I suppose, because people do evolve to the level of the tools in which they have available to them. And so, social media had caused, and we use social media. So don't get me wrong, there's certainly aspects of it that are really helpful for marketing, let's say, because there's people in communities, digital communities, that previously there were not these communities that you could market to easily. So there's value in that from a marketing standpoint and business. But they're not always the most authentic of communities, and because there's um, that lack of authenticity, that I think young people growing through, certainly my children's age, they've grown up with these things at their fingertips. And it's here in Australia, they've made new laws and legislation to stop young people, children, using social media, which is probably a positive thing. I mean, I'm sort of more of the view that less laws is best for the most part, and I think parents should have a say in how their children are raised. That's the ideal, but in this scenario, to have the government step in and say, well, we don't think it's best for the community, therefore we're going to make some laws. I think in that instance, it's probably a wise decision.
I'm not really sure where I'm at with it all yet, but I'll do some more thought.
Yeah,
Well, I'll give it some more thought. But
yeah,
I've been in and out of the entrepreneur space since I was in high school. I actually came out of high school and pretty much went to being self-employed right out of the gate and have come and gone from it. There are some things I'm curious about that I was wondering if I could ask you
yeah. Please
regard
do.
Yeah, regarding entrepreneurship and building trust and how not to waste money online and really what it is that you mean by when the boots are muddy.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's just like what we were saying before, meeting people where they're at. So they're on in the field and they're getting engrossed in the work, physically doing the work. And it's for me, it's more metaphoric. My boots don't get muddy, but I'm out there in the world, hustling to a degree to grow the business and getting out there, getting my hands dirty, so to speak, not physically, but metaphorically. So there's just been so much to learn the hard way, as I said before, in business to get things working. And the amount of change is always has its pros and cons. It has its advantages, but certainly there's sometimes opportunities in there, but there's also risks with any change. We're living through, because we're a digital agency and we're doing websites and so on and online marketing and optimization and all that fun stuff. Because the technology is changing so fast, we've just got to remain so nimble. And I think that's one of the key traits of any entrepreneur, the capability to stay nimble and dynamic and see opportunities and adjust. So every entrepreneur I've ever met has a long-term vision for what they would like to achieve and what it might look like. And they have the understanding where they are right now, but that middle piece of how to get there from A to B um, can be sometimes dynamic and challenging and evolve, and there might be little pivots along the way. You might just be a few degrees away from what will really grow and accelerate your growth. Whereas, a large company, they don't have the capability to evolve quickly when there's new opportunities present themselves because they're such a big beast and it's kind of like steering a massive ship. It's really difficult to turn that ship around to any degree in a real hurry. But if you're in a little kayak or a smaller craft, a speedboat, you can quickly change directions. And I think that's the beauty of entrepreneurial businesses. You have the ability to adapt. And then in this day, where things are changing so fast, I think entrepreneurs are going to be the big winners. And even as an employee, I think those that have that spirit of entrepreneurial minded, aspects, if they can sort of perceive the future and think about the future and what their career path might look like, and potentially what adjustments might be able to be made that will benefit the company. They're wonderful traits and visionary aspects that any boss will love. Even if you've got an idea as an employee and you take it to your boss and your boss doesn't think it's a good idea, and because they have a greater level of understanding of the whole company. Even if they don't like your idea, they will love the intent behind you bringing it to them. So I think employees just should think creatively and bring suggestions and ideas in a positive way to their employers, their bosses, and it's only going to enhance their career path, even if those ideas are not taken on board, because they'll realize, hey, this person really cares. I think we're all looking for people who genuinely, authentically care about other people and in this instance their boss. I think that's going to be a great thing. There's going to be job losses. There already are for technology. That's obvious. Every business, every career path is vulnerable for change. All of us have the potential to be replaced by a robot one day if we really think about it. But so you got to think about, hey, how do I reposition myself? How do I bring value to the world in this dynamic and changing world? And I always like to think about it. Wherever there's a great need, there's the potential to create great value. And wherever you produce great value, income will follow. So it's not about chasing the money and the income, and that's just a byproduct of creating massive value. So when you see a need in your company as an employee, or if you're a business, if you see a great need, if you can bring value to that great need, well, you'll do just fine. It's just a matter of finding the needs and finding how you're going to solve those problems and challenges people have and bringing value there, and business will do just fine.
Wes, that's a fantastic share. And friends, if you're listening and have been listening to the podcast episodes that we've been putting out there with Get Curious, there's a common theme here, and that's getting back to self and understanding yourself, your values, and what it is that you have to offer, what you care about. And if you're positioning yourself from that angle, there's more authenticity, more room to add value and have impact in this world. What do you think, Wes?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a better way of looking at it. So I mentioned income. Income is just a really but impact is a better way of thinking about it. And I suppose, well, all of us need to make money, and that's, a massive part of a business and staying afloat. You need that. But money is kind of like a crude proxy for true value and making change in the world and making a big impact, as you say. So a better way of framing it would be impact.
So there is another question hanging here that has my curiosity, and it
Yeah.
was, what would you do if you were starting today?
The yeah, well, you always start from a base of knowledge from wherever you're at. So if I was starting again now with nothing and no money and just the shirt on my back type thing, I would be building around myself lots of quality people who are doing the things that I want to do. Almost like mentors. Not that you go out and meet people and say, "Hey, will you be my mentor?" It's just that you surround yourself with these people, and by observation and relationship, they become your mentors. And what I would do is try and get in as many rooms with high quality people that I possibly can. And some of those rooms you need to get into the masterminds or the networking groups or the events that are, might be some form of platform speaking event that you go to and there's other people in the room. Sometimes there might be a little cost. Usually those that have a small cost are a higher caliber of person in the room, so it's worth the investment. Sometimes the free events, it's just not that it's bad, but it's there's just a lot of people there that might not necessarily be at a really high level. So I always think it's worth paying a few dollars to get into a room with a high caliber of person because it's really worth the investment. It's been remarkable. I've been to different conferences and so on, like most of us do, and because you're in the same room with the same people, it might be a couple of days, 3 days, let's say, or over a weekend. You start to form really strong relationships with them because you're going through the same journey at the same time with them. So there's that connection because you've done something together, even if it's just listening together. You've absorbed the same material and been in the same environment. So you start to connect with these people. And it's a great source of mentorship. You can learn from them, but also potentially they might become collaborators or they might become customers and clients. And there's just so much that can happen by getting in the right rooms.
Yeah, that's all of these offers to be in a room where you learn from somebody who's done it.
Yeah.
And they have the skills, they can help you trust yourself through the process.
Yeah, 100%. And so some of that I did early on joining groups. I wasn't really intentional about what I was doing. I was just getting out there and meeting people and so on. One of the key things as I considered these people mentors because they were far more experienced in business, but some of the things you learn are what not to do. So what I observed, particularly with the men in the different groups, was sometimes it felt like to me they were spending a lot of evening hours and a lot of long hours and probably neglecting their families and their children. And
Uh,
so just by observation, that was something that I learned not to do. I learned before I had children, hey, if you get this wrong, you don't have great relationships with your kids. So I was really intentional about that as well. So there's just so many aspects of what you can learn by observing and taking the time to understand other people.
That's a really big one that you point out because, as you know, if you've had children and you're watching them grow, it goes by quickly and you cannot get it back.
That's right. Yeah, flies by. And there's yeah, it's wonderful. My eldest son is working with me now 1 day a week, which is
Oh,
awesome. he doesn't live at home or anything, and he's living with his girlfriend. But it's great to see him one day a week. You feel like you might lose them once they become adults, but if they want to hang out with you one day a week, or at least are prepared to work with you and have lunch and so on, you must have got something right. I feel like I got something right there, so it's a good thing.
I feel like that too. Like I am an empty nester now, but at least I
Yeah,
get the phone call every now and then that says, "Do you want to hang out?" Well, not necessarily
yeah.
a phone call. Like I shouldn't say phone call because that's not accurate because we're more of a texting
Oh
type.
yeah, yeah,
The times when we have a phone call, it's when we cannot have a conversation quickly and it needs to be said over the phone because it's just way easier, or it's
yeah,
something profoundly important that really shouldn't be shared over text, and we need to hear
yeah,
each other's voices. And in those situations, hopefully, we're doing it more so in person. And I really do value the "Hey, mom, do you wanna?" text or.
yeah, yeah. I know, and I'm the same, and so it feels as though there's that age bracket where kids want to be independent, so there's almost that pushback away from you as a parent. But you got to stick it out through those, maybe it's the teenage years, um, and realize the investment you've made over the long term will come back, and they'll grow in their own level of maturity and want to hang out again. You have so much fun with young kids, and then all of a sudden they're teenagers, and it feels like they don't want to hang out anymore. They don't want to play with you anymore. So it's nice when they come back when they're adults.
Well, you definitely hit home with that one, and there's a lot of emotion around that for me because I had a terrible, terrible time going through that transition when
Yeah,
the cord was cut, so to speak, and the move out
right.
happened, and it was like, you don't want to live with me, you don't want to play with me. I really, really miss you. Every day sucks that you're not here, and it was a hard, hard
Yeah,
7 months. I went,
yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah, really difficult, isn't it? It feels like an eternity. It's 7 months, but that will feel like an eternity. And because you're not aware of how long precisely it might be, that's almost makes it worse because you just don't know, is this forever or what's going on?
and it feels like the end of your world. Like my
Yeah,
parenting identity was taken away in a moment. Okay, I don't need to actively parent every day anymore. It was like, well, who
yeah,
am I?
yeah, true. Yeah, yeah, it is a massive part of our identity and probably rightly so, but we also need to not lose ourselves completely to the task of being a parent, I think. Because, as you say, like things change and I think being a better version of ourselves is almost like a mentor for the children. They'll probably in some ways pick up, you know, who we are. So even in that horrible time of the 7 months of disconnect, you can it's an opportunity. There's always opportunity in every difficult time. Um, so just figuring out how you grow and become a better person, so that not that you needed to. I'm not saying that you needed anything was wrong with who you were, but just to rediscover yourself and your own, things that you enjoy and all those sorts of things. Because yeah, as you say, like it's so much. It takes so much time too, running them around to activities and so on. So you do put yourself to the side for a while there, and it's an opportunity to um, put some time back into yourself.
Well, I really appreciate everything that you're sharing and the fact that you do relate to these things. I wanted to share that I believe in Australia, you guys honor Father's Day on a different day than we do. We're coming up on, I think it's June 21st or something like that. And aren't you guys in September?
Uh, yeah, I'm not precisely sure of the date. It must be around then. It feels like that kind of yeah, it would be something like that. It is a different time for sure.
Well,
Um,
definitely honor your parents. They put a lot into raising you.
yeah, I know. Yeah, my father passed away couple of years ago, a few years ago now.
I'm
Oh, probably
sorry.
5 years. Time flies, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Um, and certainly at Father's Day, special days, but birthdays and so on, or just different scenarios where you ordinarily would have connected. We love the football here in Australia. We have Aussie rules footy, and so that's a way in which Dad and I connected. And so sometimes people think these things are not important. They're absolutely important because they're just a thing that you both relate around. So we would ring each other in the breaks of the game and discuss the game and the strategies that we would change, the things that we would do. And that was just a way in which we could relate over something that's it's actually not that important, but the thing isn't important. The way in which we could relate around it was important. So I think that, that's a way of looking at, sports and other activities and whatever it is, going to movies, whatever your thing is that you can connect with your family members. It's not the thing that's important, it's the way you connect around that thing that's
Yeah,
important.
absolutely. Yeah. Well, I want to encourage people to connect with you at uplift360.com.au, which is your website. But also, I learned in listening to a podcast that you were on with John A. Brink, who actually is a
Oh, yes.
Canadian, was
Yeah.
from Norway. And
Yeah, it may have been. Yeah. Yeah.
Norway or the Nether, I'm not, I think I'm pretty sure it's Norway. And I learned that you also have a book. Could you give a quick
Yeah. Yeah. The
some?
Simple Manifesto. That's right. Yeah. Marketing principles to save time and um, create a dream business. And so, yeah, I wrote that probably around 10 years ago. But the curious thing with that is the principles and strategies in there are probably more relevant now than they were even when I wrote it. So because it's more about principles and strategies and getting your brand right and the values and convictions and building a business authentically,
Mhm.
less around the tools and technology of the day. So that's why it hasn't become redundant. So, but yeah, those sorts of things like authenticity and what we're talking about today, all these things are really important because who you are as a person will be reflected in your business. And so you're not going to have a super successful business if your life isn't aligned with what you're doing. So yeah, thanks for mentioning the book. I always forget because it was so long ago, but people still buy it. I still see the trickling sales around the world, which is nice.
Well, I'm definitely interested in taking that in. And I want to thank you very, very much for the knowledge you've shared today and it just being so easy to connect with and sharing like thing. It's been a great conversation, Wes, and I really appreciate the time you've spent with me today.
Yeah, my pleasure, JL. Thanks for having me on your show, and hopefully the audience. One thing I would say is, if anyone's listening this far, they should definitely give this a share, and maybe there's someone they could share it specifically. If someone comes to mind that this might be of value to them, please do share it. It's free and valuable information. So give it a general like and a share and those things, so you can on social media or wherever you're watching, YouTube. But also think of someone specific you can share it directly with, maybe through an email or something like that. I think it'd be wonderful to help people in that way.
Speaking of sharing, all your lovely details will also be in the show notes, including a link to where to buy your book and your website and your podcast. So get to know Wes better, friends, because I have and I really enjoyed it.
Excellent. Thanks, JL.
I know you want to get to know our guests better. I definitely will be. If you'd like help with your podcast or you'd like to be my next guest, check out the show notes for details on how to get signed up with PodMatch. Until next time, stay curious, keep exploring, keep growing. Your mic is your network. One guest can connect you to many. Are you ready for real relationships, real opportunity, real growth? Build your network and amplify your impact. One conversation, countless connections. Are you curious about creativity, science, health, business, technology, mindset, relationships? Whatever you're curious about, you can explore via podcasting. I I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and I look forward to sharing the next one.
Thank you for tuning in.